the Nonprofit Podcast, powered by Donorbox.
Giving season is here, and it's time to put your best foot forward. Before supporters visit your site to donate this season, it's time to make it shine. Today, we're talking about spiffing up your donation page, just in time for giving season. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast. I'm Kara, fundraising coach at Donorbox. We're here each week with practical actions you can use today to increase donations and take your nonprofit to the next level tomorrow. We have Bobby Jo Rockstrom, Donorbox account manager, and our favorite donation page expert with us again today. When Bobby last joined us, she took us through the fundamentals of donation page design and optimization. And we've had so many requests with specific questions that she's back today to take us through the last-minute tech prep tweaks and tune-ups as we head into November, which is the last month of prep before giving season kicks off in earnest. Bobby, when you were here last time, you shared some great tips on getting the fundamentals of your donation page perfected and ready to drive donations, from making your page easy to find to making supporters feel welcome and secure. Listeners, if you missed this, please do yourself a favor and listen to the Nonprofit Podcast, episode 21. But Bobby, you also pointed out that it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. So what are the priorities for ensuring we're all prepped and ready for the busiest season of the year?
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I love having you here.
And yes, it will almost always hold true that one size will not fit all great donation forms. We will all have our own mission, intent, donor base, location, and other variables, but there are some general suggestions and best practices that could be very valuable to keep in mind when creating your donation page or prepping for giving season.
Oh, that's terrific. Yep, let's tackle those.
All right, let's jump right in.
What do we need to think about first?
All right. So if I were to narrow down the top few points that can make the biggest impact on your donation page, I would say, number one, pay attention to the flow of your page, including the content. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to make your ask obvious and easy to follow. And an easy way of doing this is keeping it above the fold, meaning the top of your website without your supporters needing to scroll or search any further. And on the same topic of flow and content, it is also important to keep this area a distraction-free zone. One purpose, one CTA, to help keep your message clear and drive more conversions.
Let's talk about CTAs for a minute. I think people often get confused here. So do you have some general guidelines? We know nonprofits call their supporters to action in many ways. They are asking them to volunteer or sign a petition or attend an event. When we're talking about a call to action on a donation page, we're specifically talking about asking supporters to make a donation, right? So sometimes that gets muddled in the messaging. How can you streamline that?
As silly as it may sound to say, something important to remember is that your supporters, or even soon-to-be supporters, don't know everything about your mission and your organization that you do. We may think our messaging is obvious because we know all the ins and outs and details, but the best way to help ensure or to do the best to make it obvious is to provide clear content and messaging around your mission, your goals, and so importantly, your impact. Think of a brand new supporter or someone who just came across your website with very little context about the depth of your organization. In these cases, it is so important to provide very clear messaging, a direct call to action, an obvious and extremely easy way to donate. Keep it brief, keep it clear, and keep it enticing. Not everyone ends on your page with the intention to give. So while you have this intention, you have a very short window to make sure they not only know what they're supporting, but how to support you by providing a simple, straightforward flow through the content on your donation page.
Yeah, I always say that if you present two calls to action, that most people will choose the one that involves not giving money. So we want to make sure that if we're asking for money, that it's really clear on that page. So it's pretty clear. So here's our mission, here's our impact, Here's how you can step in financially and support. I love that. Thank you, Bobby.
Absolutely.
What else? What else do we need to think about?
You also want to make sure your page design doesn't look strictly like a payment processing form. Instead, it should be a gentle but very clear reminder why visitors should give to your organization. And part of this, again, can be achieved with easy navigation. It's fundamental to a successfully designed donation page that your key points are clear, that you're organizing your information in a way that can be easily scanned and understood by using impactful headlines and bullet points to not only guide your donors through your page, but all the way to the point that they know why they want to support your cause, that they want to donate, and where and how to do that within seconds, meaning your main points should be simple and easy to capture. And even though there's likely more depth and information to provide, you need to first make sure that you're capturing your audience within those first few seconds before we can assume they're going to just keep reading more.
Absolutely. We have such short attention spans these days. So, this is really good advice. What else is on your prep your tech checklist that organizations might need for a thorough giving season refresh of their donation page?
We've yet to talk about making sure your donation page is branded, and this can be easily overlooked. So, definitely
Yeah.
important attention. And we talked about this last time, but if you didn't take action on it then, or you need another reminder, you still have time to do it now. Branding drives awareness of your organization, your mission, and your goals. But it also plays a role in the comfort level potential donors have on your page and visiting your website. If your donation page doesn't include your organization's logo, typically somewhere at the top, or information in colors that match and are recognizable to your organization's brand, this might trigger red flags, particularly for first-time donors that might already be on the fence and are unsure if they're safely making a donation. With so much awareness about online scams and internet security, people tend to catch on to subtle visual discrepancies, sometimes without even really knowing it. And this can cause potential donors to second guess their confidence in your organization and potentially the chance of giving.
Oh, absolutely. I can think of a few times that I've even second guessed a donation page because I wasn't 100% sure that it was going to the right organization because it just looked so different. The landing page, the donation page were a little different. And one of the cases, they'd rebranded the landing page, but then they didn't spiff up and they didn't rebrand the donation page. So it was really hard to understand if I was going to make a donation to the right place. So that's important. Security is all about, building trust with the donor and showing that you're a legit organization. Are there any other security issues that you might want to consider?
There certainly are. And a big one that I still see frequently, which can sound intimidating, but is very common practice and can be fairly straightforward to take care of with just a little research, is having an SSL certificate.
Mm-hmm.
You can verify by looking at your URL, and if your website starts with HTTPS and includes the S, then your website is more secure than if your website starts with just HTTP and usually will also say not secure at the top. And although Donorbox forms are secured by SSL, if a donor sees the words not secure at the top of your website, they might understandably be nervous to provide any personal data and potentially leave your website altogether. Which reminds me, Kara, while we're talking about on-page scaries, another thing that can be significantly and positively impact your conversions and donations is optimizing your donation page and website for that matter for mobile use. Quite a large fraction of donations are typically made on mobile devices. And again, making a visitor chase the donation button or your donation form around little mobile screens is likely not going to end in your favor.
No way. They'll give up. They'll leave.
I'm sure many of us can think of negative experiences while doing any kind of online browsing, no matter the industry, whether it was online shopping or searching for specific information, and can relate to the pain and frustration of an unpleasant mobile experience that can very easily result in leaving the website altogether and ingraining thoughts of never wanting to return again. But to end on a positive note, I want to say you still have time before this giving season to make any noted changes. And really, a lot of what we've already talked about today can be easily crossed off your list if you give it a few moments of your attention to make the adjustments. So I encourage everyone to make an honest review of your website, at least starting with your donation page. Make any necessary changes, and you and your donors will appreciate the enhancements with the ultimate intent of making the whole giving experience easier and successful for everyone. And be sure to test your changes to truly find out what works best, whether it is testing donation button colors or call to action messages, so you can continue to keep tweaking and testing your donation form for the best results specific to your organization.
Tweaking and testing. I love it. And this is such good, practical, actionable advice, which we love at Donorbox. So let's recap. We now have a secure, uniformly branded, and mobile-friendly donation page. Are we done, or are there more ways to enhance our donation pages for the donor experience? What do you think?
This might not be a big surprise, but yes, of course there are. I have many, many more, but I think the most useful to remember from today would be along the lines of streamlining, keeping your message clear, the process easy, and your audience engaged.
So you're going to have to unpack that just a little bit. So how do you streamline, and what do you mean?
Creating an easy donor experience is always the goal. That should always be the why when you are reviewing and streamlining your donation page and even your donation form. For example, a few quick things to check for can be, are you using above the fold, the top space of your donation page to inform, encourage, and inspire your supporters? Are you only collecting necessary donor information to keep your donation form as smooth and as easy as possible for your donors? And last, but definitely not least, are you offering suggested donation amounts? This takes the guesswork and anxiety about what to donate from your supporters. Help them out by providing suggested amounts for each donation interval you offer. And of course, additionally allowing the option for a custom donation amount that might be best suited for their intention and can be customized from the help of your suggestions.
Well, I know you've taken the anxiety out of prepping tech for our listeners today, and I know it is an overwhelming task sometimes. It can seem simple, but it really is impactful, and that can overwhelm. So, Bobby, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kara. It was a pleasure as always.
And thank you for choosing to spend time with the Nonprofit Podcast. I hope you've left with confidence to take a small step today that will make a big difference tomorrow. And don't forget to download and review the podcast, or give it a thumbs up if you're listening to the Nonprofit Podcast on YouTube. Your review is a great way to help others find us. You're here to help others, and we're here to help you. So until next time, stay inspired.
The Nonprofit Podcast, powered by Donorbox, helping you help others.